I am Alen Stellian, the Midlife Empowerment Coach. Today, I am thrilled to introduce Sheryl Ness. Sheryl is the author of Love in a Tuscan Kitchen, Savoring Life Through the Romance, Recipes, and Traditions of Italy. Her memoir takes you on a personal journey of self-discovery and love. Through the pages of the book, author Sheryl gives you a beautiful glimpse of life in a picturesque village in Chianti, where she and Chef Vincenzo, I think I pronounced that right,
You did.
live after falling in love over a chance meeting in his kitchen. Her story introduces you to the people of the village that welcome her as a family. And if you love Italy, and who does not, or you love to cook, which I don't, but I like to eat, or simply enjoy a good love story, this book has something special for you. And I have been the lucky recipient of a book myself, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of good recipes in there. So we'll have to talk about that. Sheryl, I could keep talking, but I want to welcome you. I am looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to join you. This is quite an honor. And I love following what you're doing with women and just the tribe that you've collected over, I don't know how many years or how many months or years you've been doing this.
It's been a few years now. In the group. So I'm really loving it myself. And I see Catherine has joined us already.
Hi, Catherine.
Catherine, I know Catherine is in Asheville, North Carolina.
Cool.
Catherine. Yeah, I interviewed her recently for this series. And she is actually a travel agent, and one of her destinations for us was Italy. So you'll have to go back and look at the video. Of course, it's on everybody's bucket list.
Aren't we all dreaming about traveling these days?
We were talking about that. I was like, oh my God, can we go?
We still have those dreams, right?
Right. I know. So yeah. So you're in Minneapolis right now, which is that where you're originally from?
Yeah, I'm just south of Minneapolis. So a bigger city, Rochester, which is the home of Mayo Clinic, which is where I worked as a nurse for many years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Rochester is my home. I grew up here, and it is a beautiful little city and growing, of course.
Yes.
And we're really close to Minneapolis. So within an hour, 20 minutes, I can be in Minneapolis.
Oh, perfect.
All of the big city.
Yes. So you had the best of both worlds there. You got this, but
yes.
Minneapolis is great, but this is not what we want to talk about. I want to know what led you to go to Italy in the first place. Like, tell us your story, because this is an unbelievable story. So what was Sheryl doing? What was her life like? And then she goes to it. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
No, just saying that obviously we don't want to take anything away from the story in the book, but just give us.
There's some really fun stories in the book. So I'm not going to be able to catch all of that today, but definitely the story for me, my own story is such a surprise to me too. Like, I totally surprised myself by opening my eyes and heart and brain and everything else to thinking about life at age 41 in a different way. So, I mean, it all kind of started with this dream of just traveling to Italy, because I'd always had it on my list. I didn't know why, because my heritage is Scottish and Norwegian. I'm not Italian, but I was just really enamored and in love really with Italian culture, the food, the people. I just felt a connection to it, and I didn't know why. But now I do.
Now you do. Interesting. So you followed that intuition.
I did. And I think that's one thing that I would encourage women to do, is to think about what you need. And I hadn't done this until I was in my 40s. Like, I was in my 20s, I was, working, trying to establish my career. I got married, then I got divorced. I didn't have kids. And, I just felt like I wasn't fulfilling what I thought I was supposed to do, because I was divorced and I didn't have kids, and I had a career, which was wonderful, but I felt like there was so much more. And how was I going to find that if the things that I thought were supposed to happen, had failed pretty much?
So was there something at age 41 in particular? Was there something that happened in your life that caused you to say, there's something more here for me? Like there's something
Yeah.
missing? Or was it just,
I
don't
think
know.
it was maybe it was just it was, that midlife, like, okay, you're 40. What, is this really what you want to do the rest of your life? And at that point, I was working all the time. And that's pretty much all I was doing. And I felt like there had to be more. I wasn't fulfilled completely by the work I was doing. I mean, I loved it, but is that
And
all?
you were a nurse then? We
I'm
were
a
talking
nurse.
before him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was working at Mayo Clinic, and I was a manager. So lots of stress. I think the stress really added to it. But sort of at the peak of my career, right?
Okay.
But I had things I wanted to do. Like I had finished my master's degree, but I'd never published my thesis. I wanted to study for an exam to, add to my curriculum so that I could become an assistant professor at Mayo, which nurses don't normally do. But I wanted to, that was a goal that I really wanted to do. And so I actually remember sitting in this class that I had to take for new managers. And it was all about time management. And I'm going to, I talk a little bit about this in the book in my introduction. But I remember the person saying, okay, write down your short-term and long-term goals. The drill. It's like, okay, let's write down. And they were all work related. And then he surprised me and said, now I want you to do this for your personal life too, which was sort of a new concept. I mean, this was early 2000 something. So, thinking about personal goals and sort of coaching your way through life was not a thing, especially for women.
Right.
But I thought, oh, well, that sounds like fun. I want to write down a goal for my personal life because I'd never thought about that.
It sounds like you were very focused. You knew what you wanted career-wise. You were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to want to, but then but what about the rest of my life?
I can do something for myself. And I knew in my heart that I'd always wanted to go to Italy. So I just wrote that down on a piece of paper. And I found that also writing things down and putting them in front of your eyes and looking at them and reflecting at them and then talking about it with others is really how you kind of make those goals happen, even if they seem like dream goals, right?
I'm such a huge fan of that, of writing it. In the goal training that I do, it's about, you got to write it down and you got to tell people. Like you got to put it out there.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Talk about it.
How are people going to know that you want to do this? Yeah.
And it kind of like forces you to own it. Like
it's real.
Okay, I'm putting it out there. And then it's like, when people ask me about it, I can't be like,
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's like Italy now. Yeah. So it's like, it makes it real for you and for others. And it becomes a living thing.
And then you're open to having people say, oh, well, I know how to help you do that.
Yes.
Or I have some ideas on how.
Or I have a friend who lives wherever. Why don't, when you go, I'll meet, you can meet up with them or whatever.
It seems like such a simple thing. And I don't know why I'd never done it before, but I hadn't. I mean, I was 40,
it's a very brave thing to do, to put that out. I mean, it's not easy. It may be, which is it? It may be simple, but it's not easy, or it may be easy, but it's not, whatever. It makes, I always get confused. I think it may be simple, but it's not easy to do, like it's like in concept, you're like, oh, that's what that. But when you're actually doing it, it seems like there's a leap of faith that has to happen. There's like a real, a brave courage has to come to you.
Well, and I think at that time too, I had been in a relationship that I was hoping would be, was a big love for me, second love. And I was hoping for the world. And then it, kind of came crashing down. And so that was the other like domino effect.
That's a catalyst. Yeah.
Oh yes. And even though I wasn't ready to admit that to myself, it was done. And I needed to, be able to move on.
Yes.
And I guess for me, creating goals for myself, it was the first time I'd ever done that. Talking about it with others. I started traveling with girlfriends, and I found that I really love traveling. You and I talked about this before we got on. It's just that kind of wanderlust that's inside of you that you want to explore and explore new cultures, new foods, and understand how people live differently than we do.
Yeah.
I had actually studied that as my nursing degree. I studied transcultural nursing. So
wow.
At Mayo, we have so many different cultures coming into our medical institution. And being able to understand that was really important to me in my career. And then it kind of translated to my personal life too.
So interesting that even in your career, there was that seed there,
you know, crossover for sure. So, I mean, it was with these girlfriends that I felt sort of this freedom to be who I was. I wasn't defined by my job. I wasn't defined by my family or my, you know, love, like the person in my life who was supposed to be my love.
Your person, yes.
My partner.
Yeah.
So it was me. Like I had to find what was in me that would make me happy. And no one else was going to do that. And, you know, for the first time in my life, I felt empowered to be able to say, I think I know what I can do, at least to explore some sort of happiness. I knew that travel was a big part of what I wanted to do. I, you know, had those career goals, but they were sort of like, okay, well, there's two things I can do. I can be happy in my work and I can be happy in my life. And I realized instead of feeling bad about not being married and not having kids, to just flip it around and say, I'm single, I'm free to do what I want. And I don't have kids. So that gives me even more freedom to do things that maybe I wouldn't have been able to do at this age.
Right.
Otherwise.
What's the opportunity here? You know,
yeah.
as much as we can say, oh, you know, like boohoo, you know, what I don't have, it's like, okay, but what does this allow you to do?
When I finally started doing that, instead of feeling sad all the time about what I was losing out on, or what I thought I was losing out on, I felt empowered and just excited about life and making plans. And I think I sort of wanted to just let my life surprise me. And I'd never done that before. Like I'd always wanted a plan, or, you know, I always wanted to understand what I was supposed to be doing based on someone else's idea, usually, of what I should be doing or what was the right thing to do. So just, I had this experience. It was just incredible. You know, I went to Italy for the first time hiking. I fell in love with the land.
Were you going by yourself when you
I was with one other girlfriend. I was with a girlfriend and we had like an itinerary that we would do every day. It was really funny because we got lost all the time. You know, we were like dirty and sweaty. We'd get to the village where we were supposed to end up for the day. And we were just so excited to see, you know, the gelato and the foods we could have and meet the people of every village. And it turns out, you know, we were walking right through the same area where I would later live. And, you know, I felt this connection to the place and I didn't know why. I'd done this in other places and enjoyed it, but I didn't feel like I had to go back. But for some reason, after that experience, I went home and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I planned another trip with another girlfriend a couple of years later, or maybe a year and a half later. And this time I sort of got what I call a princess tour. I instead of hiking and being sweaty and, you know, having no guide, we had an immersion tour and it was guided. It was with a couple that now are my friends from Petaluma, California. Pam and Sam from Tuscany Tours are the owners of this incredible company who create these immersion experiences for people. Really small.
That sounds nice. Yeah. So like small groups and immersion is like certain experiences.
Well, it's more of the things that you wouldn't find as a tourist. You know, you're going to get the local experience. You're not going to be herded around with the big, you know, umbrella with 30 people and see the usual tourist spots. You meet locals who are doing really unique things. You're eating at restaurants that probably no one else knows about. You're really taken to places that are off the beaten path. And
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I just loved that experience. So I kept in touch with them. Pam became a really great friend. She's my friend to this day. We are lifelong friends. And she sent me an email probably 3 months later saying, you know, our business has really been busy. We are looking for someone to also be a part-time nanny to our kids. Oh. And since you're a nurse, you might have, you know, colleagues or someone, she said, like a young nurse that might be interested in this. And I kept thinking, what about me? Yeah. I could do this. And that's exactly what I had wanted to do, was spend more time in Italy, really get immersed in the culture. And maybe then it was my opportunity to be a mom, you know, because I always had wanted to be a mom. So I wrote back to her and said, you know what, I'm so tempted by this. I wonder if I can make this happen. So I started the wheels turning.
Right.
I asked my boss if I could have a leave of absence, unpaid, and that it would be really focused on writing my thesis and studying for a couple of things I wanted.
And at that point, are you thinking like a few months or a year, or are you?
Well, I originally asked for a 9-month sabbatical, and they said, no way.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, then I might need to quit my job because I feel like I really need to do this. And
wow.
I actually can't believe I said that.
Good for you. That's brave.
I did. Now looking back, I think, oh my gosh, what were you thinking? What did you say? But it just came out, it came out. And so we negotiated a 6-month period with 3 months at a time. And then I would come home for a month and a half and work, kind of reset things, make sure things were okay. And then I had sort of I could email and do things from remotely, which was a little bit harder then. But so that was the deal. I had 3 months, 3-month periods where I could have this sabbatical, and I was going to do it in Italy. So I did.
I
packed up my bags and I moved to this little tiny village in Chianti. I helped them with their business. It was really interesting working in the travel business instead of, being defined by science and medical things. And then I was part-time nanny, and that was, a huge new experience for me, which is pretty funny. Actually, that chapter is pretty funny. Like being defined as someone's nanny is
right.
I have a whole nother appreciation for people who do that. It's, you're not always treated as,
I bet.
And it wasn't something that the family did. It was what other people thought of me.
How they viewed you. Interesting.
It was
and probably viewed you, didn't realize you're highly educated.
Oh, no, they had no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a really intelligent person here.
Right.
And of course, I couldn't speak Italian very well. I was learning it. But so to communicate all of that was almost impossible. So I had this really eye-opening experience of being defined so differently. And then also taking advantage of that and saying, okay, well, I'm not defined by my career anymore. This is me. Like, what do I want? It was a really great experience to do some self-exploration.
Yeah.
I was all by myself many times, along with the kids or the people of the village who didn't know me. Because my friends were really busy. They were gone a lot.
Yeah.
But I met girlfriends that are to this day, my friends in Italy. They were typically English speakers, so I could, connect with them.
Right.
One of them is Julia, who you'll hear a lot about in the book. She was the other person who was the nanny to the kids. So we kind of took turns. But that whole experience was just incredibly eye-opening. And, there were times when I just wanted to go home. Like I was so uncomfortable with the whole situation that I thought, oh, what have I done? I can't hardly speak the language. I'm a nanny for these 2 little girls, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you'd had much experience taking care of, I guess in nursing maybe, but like, I don't know if you have nieces or nephews or what.
But it was, of course I had. And, I babysat, of course, as a young teenager. But it was just really, really interesting. And I am really close with the girls. They're 21 and 23 now.
Oh my goodness.
And so
how long ago are we talking about now?
So this was 2007.
Okay. Yeah. So it's been a little while.
Yeah, it has been a little while.
I know. And so you wrote this book, and I obviously want to hear more about your love, but I mean, I don't want to give it away either because I want people to read the book. So at what point did you know, what, there's something here. There's a story here that needs to be told, that because this is a pretty amazing story of you sort of awakening to yourself and taking a leap of faith and jumping out and, into the world and saying, I'm going to go discover myself and create the life I want, which is, an amazing story of courage and of compassion for yourself too, and of believing that there's, I deserve more than the life I've settled for right now. So it's like, that's amazing.
That's really one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I wanted to inspire other women. I mean, the love story is in there, and it's a beautiful love story. Obviously, it's mine. So it's personal to me. And that part of it, I wasn't sure about publishing because, it's really a personal thing. And
yeah.
But I really wanted to let others know that it was possible, after 2 failed relationships and just looking for the thing that you needed and almost really giving up on it, thinking, well, is there another way for me to keep, my heart open and keep my spirit alive? Because I felt really like I was dying inside in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it, but I was flat. I wasn't depressed, but I felt like I didn't have the joy that I needed.
There was
in my
something
life.
You knew there was a hole there. There was something missing.
And so
that
to
you
keep
needed
looking
to see.
for it, like don't give up.
Don't give up.
And I mean, my story is amazing. 2 weeks before I was supposed to come home for good, after the 6-month period, I asked for a recipe in one of our local little restaurants where I'd eaten many times. I asked for one of my favorite things that I'd eaten, and because I wanted to recreate it at home. I love to cook. I really do. And so that chance meeting with the chef that day is how I met my husband. And
amazing.
He couldn't speak any English. I could barely speak Italian.
Wow.
I mean, I could speak some, but not enough to get the recipe.
Right.
So my friend's little girl, who I'd been nannying to, 7-year-old Emma, she was the person who I still call Cupid, because she helped me get the recipe. She loved the recipe. Cook too.
What was the recipe, and is it in the book?
Oh yes, it's in the book. It's the hot chocolate cake, and it is lovely. And it's like I always say, it's how I fell in love. We actually call it the hot chocolate love cake now, because it's what connected us. And so 2 years later, I was back in the same village and had been studying Italian furiously because I wanted to get to know this chef better.
Yeah.
He was, really busy. He had his own restaurant. He couldn't really get away. And we had kept in touch just briefly. We had this spark, definitely. We had a very intense thing that happened before I left, and I almost couldn't leave. I was just, torn, because I wanted to get to know him better. But I thought, okay, just get back to your real life. This is ridiculous. You can't be in love with this guy. He's in Italy and your life
right.
It
seems so how is that going to work? Right.
Yeah. And so I really kind of put it on hold and, said, that's crazy. You can't do that. And then I just kept thinking about him, and I'm like, well, why not? Why can't I do that?
Right. Why suspend disbelief here? Let's what's stopping you? What are the,
Well, and I just felt I guess it was kind of like a spiritual connection to the land, the people, the food, the culture. I always say that I don't know what inspires people, but I often people, especially women who travel to Italy, feel free, kind of wild. It's kind of like a wild feeling. I don't understand how to describe it, but Italian people are so accepting of who you are. I felt really, really open to just letting it, letting everything go and just be who I am. And they were open to, whatever I was saying. They were, encouraging me. Their culture itself is so much about beauty and art, and that life is not all about work.
Right.
There's family.
There's a just enjoyment of life, There's
I loved also that, there were the local markets, and it was sort of a really new and fun way for you to have fresh local ingredients. And I grew up as on a farm. And so I was raised that way, but I hadn't been in touch with that for many years. And so I really resonated with that too. And
it sounds like a slower life, like just everything kind of slows down, the pace and the connections you can have when you're kind of just slowing down and really face to face and getting to know people. That's amazing. And
dimension, kind of from a 1 or 2 dimensional to a 3 or 4 dimensional is how I always describe it. And I'm visual, so the book is very visual. It kind of takes you on that sensual journey of seeing what I saw, smelling what I smelled, tasting what I tasted. I like to write in a way that really brings the reader that entire experience. And so I hope that whoever decides to read the book after this really appreciates that kind of writing. It's how I like to read books. I really want to experience it. So I wrote it in a way that I love to read books.
Wow.
So anyway, the chapters are all different. It's written as a memoir / love story with recipes tucked into every chapter, kind of based on the story.
Yeah, there are a lot of recipes. That's the first thing I went to in the book. Yes, it's quite, a sizable collection.
It is.
So it's if you enjoy cooking or eating Italian food and have somebody who can cook for you, it's just for that reason alone, in addition to just this amazing story of a woman, coming into her own and bravely kind of going out in the world. I don't know, there was something pulling you. There was something pulling you. There was it sounds like there was something missing. And then there was something kind of like that pulled you to Italy and back again. I mean, it's not like you met, Vincenzo and the first time there, and then the rest is history. It's like you went and you kept coming back. And so there's a perseverance piece to it too, like a knowing, an inner knowing that there was something there.
Exactly. I often don't know how to describe that in words, because it is intuition. It's listening to your heart. I always sign my books, Follow Your Heart, because I think that simple message, because a lot of times we think in terms of our brain, like, that doesn't make any sense. And that was the struggle I had after meeting Vincenzo and then going back home thinking, okay, well, this is, you can't do this. This doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you going to do for work? How are you going to live?
Yes. All the practical things that our head is saying, that's not going to work. Yeah.
But then I thought, I can have a plan B. So if plan A doesn't work out, like maybe I go and I find out that he's not the right person and I don't like the life there. At least I took the chance and tried.
Yeah.
And I can say I did that. And then I had a plan B. Like, I'm a nurse. I can always come back and get a job.
And boy, you really can. Yes.
Right?
I mean, that is a good profession for jobs these days. Yes.
Well, and it's so different these days. I feel just so much empathy for people who are in the clinical units right now.
Yeah.
It's just, So, I think you just have to have that kind of connection to your sensible self too. Like, I wasn't hopefully being completely reckless,
right?
But my parents, of course, and my family thought, I'm sure they thought, oh, okay, she's gonna move to Italy.
All right, Sheryl. Yeah.
But they were supportive, and they knew that I was searching for something, and they knew that I had had these disappointments. And I just have this incredible family of 2 brothers, and my parents are still here. And, I'm so lucky that we are really close and just support each other in those ways that for others might seem a little bit out there.
No, that's amazing. And I want to just jump in and say, welcome we have Anissa here from Cape Town, South Africa. Hi. And she is listening live, and she says she loves the hot chocolate love cake. The name of that cake is especially. And then Wendy's here with us from South Carolina. Anissa. Yeah. Anissa also says Italy is the most beautiful country with an aura of love. So how fitting that you found love and followed your heart. So
thank you, Anissa.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I'm excited to hear from other women too that are just, this is why I love what you're doing, because you're allowing us to think differently about what we need. I think we're so defined by society, and I don't know, everything else that we get influenced by in our lives. I'm just really happy with the fact that you've got this, like I said, this tribe of women. And interestingly, the people who have made this dream of my book come true have all been women as well. So
I bet we do lift each other
yes,
up,
yes,
and that's why I love women in community. I think,
I do
we
too.
can bring out the best of each other. We don't have to compete. Like we are, can
No,
nurture each other and embrace each other, support each other, cheerlead, pick each
yes.
other up when we're down. I mean, I think I'm a, as you
Mhm.
know, just a huge fan of women coming together, and I
Yes.
do believe we are better together, and that's why I love doing everything with women in groups and facilitating and
Mhm.
showcasing women, because your story is an amazing story, and I wanted to inspire other women. I want other women to see
Me
it's
too.
not too late for you.
Right.
Like you can reinvent, you can find love late, you can find
Yes.
passion for life and zest and all those things. But it takes some courage. It takes some putting yourself out there and getting out of your
Yes.
comfort zone, and maybe, making other people uncomfortable who are like, you're
Exactly.
going to do what?
I know. I felt guilty many times for doing
Yep.
this. I felt like I was being selfish,
Yep. Yeah.
and so
All of those feelings, we're so hard on ourselves.
I often tell women who are friends, female friends and others, really anyone, just there are times when you need to be selfish. There are times
Yeah.
when you need to think about yourself, and
Yep.
that's okay. Don't feel bad
Yeah.
about that.
Right.
If it's what you need to do and you feel good about it, don't, don't let others ideas or influences detour you
Yeah.
from doing that. And I like I said, I pitched this book to the big, publishing houses, and got all, no, it's too perfect. One publisher said, oh, it's just too perfect. There wasn't enough conflict in it. And I'm like, well, it's my story.
Oh goodness. Okay.
I
Yeah.
did
Can
fall in
you
love.
can you
It
invent
all
some
worked
conflict
out.
here? Yeah. Can you just can you make it a problem? Can he dump you at the end? And then
Well,
we'll
I
publish you.
know. And I
Like,
thought, okay, well, I'm not going to change the story and make up
right.
something
No.
else. I really wanted it to be my story. And so, I tried that for a few years, and I had this journal of things that I wanted to remember. That's how the book started. And then it started to form chapters. And I also wrote about the village a lot, like the culture of the village where I was living, how historic it was. It's a medieval village in the middle of Chianti. The traditions that they had kept alive, from the foods to the, celebrations that they did, for anything from Easter to Christmas to the local policeman's banquet.
Right. Wow. Right.
So I mean,
Like
and
centuries old.
the
Yeah.
wine celebrations,
Right.
the olive harvest. And then I also pulled out just little vignettes about some really important people from the village who were the elders. I felt like their stories were really important. Some of them had lived through the war. The village had been occupied,
Yeah.
and they remembered that. They were
Amazing.
80 and 90 years old. And I thought, these stories are important. And so I have really wanted to pay homage to the village and the people, and how they had embraced me as their own. I became, instead of the Americana, which I was commonly called at
Right.
the very, very beginning, because they thought I was, just coming for
Right.
a week
Visiting.
or two,
Yes.
to the chef's wife, and which is one of the reasons I have that as a subtitle of the book, is I became part of the village because I belonged to someone that they loved, the chef
Yes.
of this restaurant.
Yes.
And so, and then I started, cooking with the ladies of the village and understanding what they were saying and being able to communicate better.
Right.
And it was just a huge journey of discovery for me. And like I said, kind of I'm sure it was the time of my life. And I look back at it and I can't believe it's my story too. We've been back in Minnesota for 6 years now. So the same amount of time that we were in.
Yeah. So how did that work? So you're back now in Minnesota, and
Minnesota.
is he, Vincenzo there with you also and working
Yeah.
locally, like at a
Yes.
restaurant there, or like
Yep.
okay. All right.
Yeah, so we did make a really tough decision to leave the village and leave Chianti. He left his restaurant. It was really tough.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go, but I knew financially he was really struggling with the restaurant. It's really hard to have a business on your own in Italy if you don't have what I would say family money, or,
I bet. And I mean, sounds like you guys left before COVID. I can't even imagine what's happened to these businesses that are so dependent on, tourists in a lot of these places. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to see.
Yeah.
So, and I just really felt like I needed to be back here for my parents who were aging. And
right.
I'm the nurse, I'm the daughter. I wanted to be here for them. And so we did decide to move back 6 years ago, back to Rochester. And he's working in an Italian restaurant. He makes all their fresh pasta and desserts. Man. And so he's there.
Wait, what's the name of the restaurant so everybody locally can go and meet Vincenzo?
Well, most people have met him here, but the name of it is Terza, which means third.
So it's
Terza.
Terza. Yes. Okay. So Terza in, what's the name of the town? In Rochester, Minnesota. So I know among the, many, many women here, there's got to be people who are nearby and who are going to go and check out. Check out Vincenzo and his delicious pasta and cooking.
Well, that's how I originally met Melissa, who you also interviewed.
Yes.
We often do private events and cooking classes and things like that. So it's one way that he can really teach the authentic recipes. He loves to do really old school. He's very authentic Italian teaching, which you won't necessarily even get in the restaurant experience because it's Americanized often.
Yeah.
So we love teaching people together. I used to be his interpreter and sous chef, but now he speaks English quite well. He has learned the language like I had to, all those challenges that you go through. We are getting his citizenship kind of lined up.
Oh my, that's amazing.
Going through all those things.
Yeah.
But we do want to be in both places. We want to have more equal time in Italy. We often would go back for a month or two. We haven't done that since 2019. So pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
His mom is still in Italy. His brother is in Rome, so there are people that we really miss and hope that, we can reunite with them soon. But,
Melissa's on and she says, everyone
Melissa.
should absolutely go there when in Rochester. It's phenomenal. Terza, we're going to have to link to that also in there so everybody can go. That's amazing.
Or invite us to cook with you.
Yes, or invite you to cook. Yes, that's something you do. Well, we were talking before getting on that I'm in Sarasota now, and sometimes Sheryl and Vincenzo come down to Tampa. And so now we're going to have to talk about you coming over down to Sarasota and doing a little cooking class for us and our friends. That would be really, really fun. We would love that.
Invitations like that.
Yes.
We've gone to California, Tennessee, Las Vegas. We, before when we could travel a little easier, that was what we were doing.
Right.
So it's just fun to connect the story, the book with the recipes, and then Vincenzo in person. It's a really fun experience.
I bet it is. Oh my goodness. I add some good wine to that and we're good to go. So
wine is important.
Well, I'm going to, on that note, this is just I know we're running a little long, so I want to honor everybody's time, but obviously it's clear we could keep on talking forever. But I wanted to make sure to at least give everybody a flavor of everything they get with Sheryl and Vincenzo. And I am going to be adding links to the website, the book, and I also want to add a link to the restaurant. That's what I was thinking, the restaurant.
I'll send you that.
Yes, send me the restaurant's link because I think that would be really fun too. And
the book is available on Amazon.
Yes, show the book. It is. Yes.
So
here's the cover. Because of the blurry thing in the back. Yeah. So but it's a beautiful book. It's really nice. It's even could be a coffee table book or whatever. It's a really nice size with lots of good illustrations and the recipes. So I'm looking forward to trying them, or maybe getting Vincenzo to make them for me.
Yeah, I think we need to come and see you.
I think so. I've told Sheryl how much I do not like cooking. So, but I love other people cooking for me. So, but anyway, thank you so much for, joining me today. And thank you to everybody we had so many people join us live, and I'm very excited to hear from you. Thank you again, Sheryl. And if you enjoy these videos, please watch for more coming, probably not during the holidays, but back in January. We'll be coming back as weekly or a little less often, depending on my guests. Until then, be well and stay safe, everybody. Ciao, as they say.
Ciao.